Welcome back inside our Sports Illustrated studio for another episode of Give and Go, SI.com's critically acclaimed web series, where today we do what every good NBA show should do in the month of November, look ahead to next June's NBA draft. Joining me in studio is SI college basketball producer David Gardner. Welcome on in, David.
Happy to be back.
It's a good place to be. All right, topic number one. There's no doubt that LSU's Ben Simmons is the prize of a very talented freshman class. He's a lean 6'10" power forward who has drawn some gaudy comparisons in recent months. David, you've watched this guy for a while. Is he the real deal?
He's definitely the real deal. We've kind of taken to calling him a point center in the college basketball circles because he does post up. I don't think he'll do that in the NBA. I think he has the post skills. I don't think that he has the strength to go down at 5, but I think he can be kind of a stretch 4 kind of guy. Why he gets those gaudy comparisons to LeBron James is the one that most people give him, which is, nobody wants to be compared to LeBron James. Why he gets those is because he's so good at handling the basketball. He's not good at handling the basketball for a big man. Sometimes we say, like, for a big man, he's good at handling the basketball. He's just flat out good at handling the basketball. And I think that his game transitions really well to the NBA.
Yeah, he was basically a point guard in his last year of high school. I mean, he's 6'10", playing the 1 at Montverde. I mean, he is so good with that handles. I mean, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard LeBron James. I've heard Paul George. Lamar Odom is the one that comes up a lot, and that seems to make some sense because I think people sometimes forget just how good Lamar Odom was coming out of college. I mean, this guy was a unique talent, great floor vision, incredible ball handler, could shoot the ball a little bit. Ben Simmons, to me, is kind of cut out of that mold, but probably has a higher upside than Odom because what he can do offensively is a little bit more. If there's a weakness to his game at this point, what would you say it is?
Shooting. I think he's got a kind of weird shot. He's got a little bit of a hitch in his shot. He's a lefty, and he has he uses a lot of wrist. He uses a lot of forearm. He doesn't use his full body when he shoots, and I don't think that he's a proven three-point shooter. And even in college so far, even in high school, you saw it. Elite players will slack off on him. He can stand at the three-point line, and they'll stand at the free throw line, and they'll give him that three-point shot, and he isn't able to take it yet. If he can develop that throughout the season, then he creates some spacing issues that defenses are going to have a lot of trouble with, both in college basketball and in the NBA.
Talk to a lot of NBA personnel people. They say Ben Simmons is number 1, and it's not close. Do you agree?
I do, 100%. I think it's Ben Simmons until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, topic number 2. Last June, we saw 2 point guards, Ohio State's D'Angelo Russell and Texas prospect Emmanuel Mudiay, get drafted within the first 6 picks. There are some interesting point guards in this class, albeit ones without the same level of hype. David, in your mind, who is the best point guard prospect in this draft?
I'm going to pick a guy who's actually not playing point guard right now, Jamal Murray of Kentucky. I think he's the most natural playmaker of any guard. He's a combo guard, and the reason he's not playing point guard at Kentucky is because Kentucky has Tyler Ulis, who's a really good college point guard. They don't need him to play that spot right now. But I think that he's a natural NBA guard because I think he's a lead guard. He can drive the basketball. He can score at the rim. He has a great outside shot. He has a lot of pro experience because he's from Canada and he's been playing international basketball for a long time already. So I think you look at him as a guy who can step in right away and start scoring right away.
Okay, this is where I'm going to strongly disagree because Chris Dunn is the best point guard prospect in this class. And what's going to really piss me off when we get towards the draft is you're going to hear a lot of read a lot of stories, hear a lot of people say, well, he's going to be 22 on draft night. And that's so scary that a 22-year-old might actually get drafted in the high lottery. This kid's got the goods. He would have been a borderline lottery pick if he decided to come out of Providence last year. You watch him early on this season. He's got the game. He's got the slashing ability. He's improving as a shooter. If he gets his ball handling a little bit better, which I think he will as the season goes on, he, to me, is a slam dunk. And when teams don't draft guys because they're a little bit older, it just drives me nuts. It's the Rodney Hood thing. Like, Rodney Hood, 23 years old in the season. How can we possibly take a guy? You've got to draft a 19-year-old. Rodney Hood right now is a starter in Utah and looking like a fringe all-star down the road. I see the same type of potential in a guy like Chris Dunn. What do you see?
Yeah, I agree. I think that Chris Dunn is one of the best point guards in college basketball. He may be the best point guard in college basketball because, like I said, Jamal Murray is not really playing point guard. I agree with you that his ball handling needs to improve, but I also think that's a product of he's on a not very good Providence team, and I think he's being asked to do a lot. His usage rate is up near 30%. I think if he's down on a team that's a little bit lower, if he's on an NBA team and he's asked to do a little bit less, he'll be even better. I agree with you, too, about the age and experience. He had 2 pretty significant injuries that kept him out of 2 seasons, not entire seasons, but part of 2 seasons in college basketball, and so he really felt like last year was the first year that he had proven himself on the court, and he wanted to do it one more time. So I think that he's a guy who can be explosive right out of the gate.
You know what it is? NBA executives can be chickens. I mean, they really can, because if you draft a 19-year-old, it's like, well, we've got to give him a couple of years, and if he doesn't pan out, at least have a couple of years of window there. You draft a Frank Kaminsky type or a 22, 23-year-old. If they don't pan out right away, it falls on the executive. I think Chris Dunn's going to give some team playing time right away, much like a guy like Jerry Grant, who's playing for the New York Knicks right now. All right, topic number 3, and we'll keep this one simple. In every draft, there's a guy we are not talking about now, but we will be later. For you, who's that guy to keep an eye on?
I'm going to go with a guy, I think he's in the second round of a lot of mock drafts so far. His name is Monte Morris. He's a point guard at Iowa State. Last year...
You're not just making him up.
I'm not just making him up.
Right.
He is a great point guard.
Right.
You'll see him in the Big 12 title game probably. He had 4.79 assists for every turnover last year, and that wasn't even his best performance for a season. This guy does not turn the ball over. He's a classic pass-first point guard. Now, Iowa State is a little bit less talented than they were last year, and so he's going to be asked to score a little bit more. So you'll see him in a little bit more of a dribble drive offense. You'll see what he can do in the perimeter. You'll see his shot a little bit more. And as his game grows, I think people will start to begin to talk about him as not just a college pass-first point guard, but a potential NBA point guard. I think that's a guy you need to keep your eye on.
The guy I like, and I want to get your take on this guy too, Caris LeVert from Michigan, who had the injury back in January, was not having the best of season with Michigan, really struggling, I thought, playing outside and having a bigger role with some of the guys that left Michigan in the years before. I think he's going to have a big year this year. I think he's a prototypical two-guard type, great size, great scoring, natural scoring ability. I think another year at Michigan where he's going to be more comfortable in an enhanced role. He's really going to rise up the rankings right now. I had him in the late teens in my first big board on SI.com recently. I would have no doubts with a good season that guy could move inside the top 10 within a couple of months.
Yeah, I think late teens is fair for him right now. I think that LeVert, he's coming back from an injury, so he's a little bit apprehensive so far. He's still getting a feel for himself on the court, but he's got everything that NBA scouts are going to love. His size, his athleticism, his wingspan, his length.
Love
I think
the
that
wingspan.
You got to love the wingspan. That's on the check mark of every scouting report you've got to file. Wingspan, athleticism, all those kind of things that are not really well definable. I think that he's a really good player. I think that Michigan will be a better team this year. So one of the reasons that these guys rise is because their teams are better. Michigan kind of was floppy, last season, and they were going to be bad either way. This year, I think they'll compete in the Big Ten, so you'll see him a lot more on national television. You'll see him competing against great guys like Maryland, has a lot of pro prospects. He might guard Jake Layman, and you'll get to see him in a lot of different positions this season.
Love the wingspan. Those NBA scouts, they love those combine measurements. That really can rocket some guys up the draft board. Obviously, we can expect our predictions to hold up into June, correct?
Absolutely. I'm taking them to the bank right now.
All right, good. David, good to have you here. Welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
All right, that's it from our Sports Illustrated studio. Remember to catch us for a new episode next week and every week right here on SI.com.